Welcome to Let's Be Well Together podcast. We're your wellness check-in team. Join us each week or when you can. We enjoy exploring wellness concepts and reminding you to make time for wellness.
This is episode 168.
It's another week of Let's Be Well Together podcast. It's John Webster. I'm here with Elise Seifert.
Hey, John. What's on your mind today?
Okay, so you just had a baby just about 5 months ago.
That's right.
And you're taking maternity leave.
Yes.
And you're spending most days with Michael in the house.
That's right.
And you're occasionally getting out there.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering, I like asking people about experiences in their life while they're experiencing it. And I'm wondering about social. What are some of your impressions about, for example, even though it's fantastic to be with Michael and have all this quality time, what's going on with your social life and what might you be missing?
You know, it's hard. That social life is really hard to have when you have a baby because you're kind of living your life around their schedule. They have to eat every so often in different intervals. They have to sleep in their different intervals. So I find if I ever do have anything socially planned, it takes so much more planning in my mind or so much more scheduling than I'm ever used to. So it really makes things challenging. Something I really miss is just, sounds really silly because some people will be like, I don't miss that at all. But the work small talk.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
So being at work, I'm in a very social job. I'm a teacher. So I interact with my students. I interact with my peers, the other staff members. And I really miss just, chatting with my staff members. Hey, what did you do on the weekend? Or where are you going for March break? Things like that. Because then I come home and I share that with Steven and we talk about it. And I really like those kind of conversations. I know not everyone does.
I call those water cooler conversations, even though we don't have a water cooler.
Yep. No, ours is like our staff room conversations. You go in there just to have some adult talk, which is really important when you're a teacher because you're spending so much time with kids. You don't get that adult talk a lot. So I do miss those moments. Steven tries to give me those moments because he'll come home from his job.
Yeah, but guys are terrible at kind of gossipy type stuff or just shooting. Like Sheila says that to me all the time. What's new from work? I don't know. Well, someone must have said something. Not really.
No.
But probably I had a whole bunch of water cooler talks and it just kind of doesn't stick or
no.
She can't possibly be asking about that.
Yeah, but she is totally. She wants to know all those things. And you know what, Steven, I will give him credit. He's really good at telling me those kind of things.
Okay.
And because we work for the same school board, we have some people that we mutually know that I've met through different events or whatever. So it's kind of nice to get the news in that way. But I really miss those kind of conversations. I don't know. It just kind of makes you be in the moment and makes you kind of forget about the stress that you're feeling throughout your day. You're like, I just get to be here and be talking to another adult right now. And this is really nice.
No, for sure. And one thing I've thought a lot about since we've kind of gone down this whole wellness thing is it's not really about all these gargantuan things you do in your life. It's not always about like the big plans. And a lot of it's about just living in the moment. And, those social moments, you're right. I hadn't really thought about that, but you do want those little interactions. And for me, for example, my routine is to try and go into work most days, even if it's for half a day and then work from home type thing, because I don't technically have to be at work.
Yes.
As much. I have to go in a certain amount of time. But I like going to work just so I can have some social interaction.
Exactly. Yeah. I think it's a big thing that people were missing during those COVID days.
So for me, it's slightly different. There's a legal administrative assistant who sits just outside my door. She works for someone else, but we're always like shooting the breeze and I like trying to make her laugh. And
oh, nice.
She likes teasing me. So I think I'd really miss that if I didn't have it very often in my day.
No.
But I had forgotten how much of the scheduling it is and how little kind of windows you have of time to yourself. Because with Michael, for example, it's usually kind of like, if you're lucky, maybe 2 hours you have.
Yeah.
Between either a feeding or a nap or something. Does it dissuade you from seeing friends? Like, are you like, oh, I could go see so-and-so, but.
Oh, totally. I know people have reached out. Before I had the baby, they were like, let us know when you're ready to have people over. And it's just so hard to reach out because you're like, I never know what the schedule is going to be today. Right. And we kind of keep it flexible. He has the awake time that he likes to have between his naps. So I'm like, sometimes it's 11, sometimes it's 11:30. It's so hard. And you're like, then I have to clean my house. And then there's all this extra stuff that you feel like you have to do in order to make those interactions happen. So that's really hard. Or the times that they're able to come are when Steven's home. And I'm like, I want Steven to be able to spend time with Michael. So it makes it challenging. One space that I have found great social interaction in is my baby group.
Right.
I can't express enough how awesome it is to have those services here. We have an early on center that I go to. We have baby group once a week. They have toddler groups. Once Michael is 1, he's able to go to the toddler groups instead and do the play groups. And it's just really nice to go and meet other parents who are going through the same thing.
What about, like, say, going for a walk? Is it possible to, I mean, you don't live super close to stores and stuff, but is it possible to go for a walk with maybe Michael in the stroller, and at least you're having a bunch of little, not so much water cooler moments, but, you know, you talk to someone at the till or you talk to another shopper?
Yeah, we do one nap walk a day.
Okay.
So I like the idea of having Michael comfortable napping in different places. So I usually do one walk a day or one nap a day where I put him in the stroller. We go for a walk, and often I'll just kind of walk around my neighborhood. But once a week, I try to go downtown and go to a coffee shop or get myself a treat. So I'll either go to a coffee shop or the bakery and I get something, and that gives me some kind of social interaction.
So what are some of the other things that most of us are just enjoying and probably taking for granted that you're finding you're kind of missing these days?
I think the ability to just get up and go somewhere, the spontaneity,
Right.
It's really hard. You know, I'll have my baby group that I go to, and I have to start preparing, an hour before we leave, making sure he's fed, making sure he's napped, making sure that we have everything packed that we need, and thinking ahead. When is he going to need his next feed? Do I need to pack the bottle? Do I not need to? So it's just the spontaneity I think I'm missing, and autonomy for myself autonomy,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm always with him.
Right.
I feel like there's not really a moment in my day, like I'm brushing my teeth and it's bath time. Like I just finished bath time. I put him down. That's when I brush my teeth.
Right.
Or I'm taking a shower and he's sitting in his bouncy chair because that's the only time I could take a shower. So
you need your antisocial time, in the sense that you need Elise social time, and you're not getting any Elise social.
It's true. Yeah. So that could be really challenging because he's not a great independent napper right now. So I find often I kind of imagined my life on mat leave. I was like, oh, he'll have, 2-3 naps a day where he's in his crib, in his room, and I can go take a shower or work out or do this. But I actually find his nap times, he needs more of my attention than during his awake times.
Well, that's not good, because we just literally put him down for a nap. So
well, he's
maybe we'll get through
half
this.
an hour. Half an hour he can do. But if I want to try to get him to take a longer nap, I have to be there and help support him through it. So that was something I really didn't expect. I didn't anticipate that at all. So that's something I'm struggling with, but we find ways to make it work. Like I said, I have the spot where he is in the shower, and I sing to him while I'm taking a shower, so he still knows I'm there. Or I'm brushing my teeth and I'm telling him, this is me brushing my teeth. So it's so interesting. I never expected to, not have myself, but I know it's a short time. I'll miss it when it's done.
Maybe, but I think you will enjoy being able to just get up and do things too.
Yes, I think so too. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know the way through it. I guess one day at a time, but.
Yeah. And I think just accepting it made it a lot better.
Mm-hmm.
When it wasn't going how I envisioned, like when I couldn't put him down for naps, he would just wake up immediately if I put him down, or if I tried to get him to fall asleep independently and it wouldn't work, I would get so upset about it. So now just the fact that I accepted it, we found ways around it, and we're working through it, I think makes it so much better.
You mentioned it's a short time. It probably feels like a long time, but it will end at a certain point. Do you feel like your connections will still be there? I mean, sure, you can do your water cooler talks, but the other connections will still be there and you just fall right back into it again?
I hope so.
Yeah.
So you mean the connections, like my friendships?
Yeah, probably you've stopped going to things like maybe games night or this night or that night, or going with a friend to get a coffee or whatever it happens to be. And they're probably out there checking on you and waiting until you can slide back into that again.
I think so. I know I've experienced the opposite of it, where, someone I've been close with is going through their maternity leave and they come back, and it just seems seamless. So I think it'll be okay for me to come back and just kind of bounce back into things. Maybe it'll be more challenging for me than for them, I think, because I know when I'm on the other side of it, it seems easy for me. to just be like, okay, this person's back in my life and we're seeing each other regularly now. It might be more challenging for me to go the other way.
Maybe. But okay, I like asking people about experiences while they're going through it. So I appreciate you sharing. And I've got another idea for another episode, so we'll do that later.
Perfect.
Guests are giving their time, expanding our minds.
Today's interview is in the category of mental wellness. We recently spoke with guitarist JD Smigelski about what it feels like to be on tour and the fun you have as a touring musician. But in setting that up, JD mentioned to me that he had some issues with mental health and he's willing to talk to us about it, which is fantastic. Welcome, JD.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going great. JD Smigelski began playing guitar at a young age. He started his onstage journey with his guitar teacher, John McKinley, and his open jam at the Hoother Hotel, which is in Waterloo, Ontario. He knew JJ Wild from middle school, who also grew up in Kitchener, and JJ is a Canadian rock singer. Her debut album, Ruthless, won Rock Album of the Year at the 2021 Juno Awards, and her new album, Vices, is nominated at the Junos this year. JD has been touring with JJ, and I ran into him recently, and he agreed to talk to us, so this is fantastic. So, JD, thanks for being on the show earlier. And as I said, when we set up the interview, you let me know that you had a history of some mental health struggles and navigating them as a touring artist, and that you're willing to talk about them. And we appreciate that.
Absolutely.
And can you start by telling us what you mean when you say that you had some struggles that you encountered?
Well, I mean, I have a history of, general depression, seasonal depression, and severe anxiety, I guess, in certain regards. And it was never social, but it was definitely a lot of building scenarios in your own head and imposter syndrome. And it's funny things that like so many things are related to music as well as just like your entire life, right? Because music is such an emotional thing. It's one of those things where you're like, oh, like, am I good enough? Or you're always kind of comparing, and there's like a lot of self-esteem to it, right? So trying to navigate that my entire life has always been an interesting journey.
So when you say your entire life, when did you start noticing some of these feelings that you associate with?
My parents always pointed it out to me even when I was a kid. Like, I was a pretty nervous kid and very social kid, but it was just like, I was scared of conflict. I was scared of a lot of different things like that. And luckily, like, as the older I got, I'm still, I'm still navigating that myself, but it's definitely like strengthened a lot better. And it's kind of years of experience kind of builds a hardened shell around that, right?
So you've talked about things like depression and anxiety, and you've used terms that make me think that you have some understanding of what some of these conditions are or what they're called. When they started appearing, like, did it take time before you recognized what they were?
It took like a full on like mental breakdown and like spending some time in the hospital to kind of really be like, oh, okay, this is not going away. I tried medications on and off for years. Luckily enough, at this point in my life, I have weaned myself off of medication, which is great. I use a lot of natural things, and L-theanine is a great natural substance it's the active ingredient in green tea. So it promotes euphoria and relaxation. Yeah, using those kind of things kind of like helps circumvent it. Doesn't take away the problem, but it can kind of help numb it a little bit.
So as you were kind of growing up and having some of these feelings, you just kind of dealt with them and just kept going. I'm trying to understand, was it something that you were knowing that there was something happening and not sure what? Were you talking to people about it? Were you just dealing with it on your own?
Yeah, a lot of the times I kind of just locked myself. I slept a lot. I could sleep for like 17 hours a day if it really came down to it, if I was at a low point. Unfortunately, I feel like that's part of like the side effect of depression, right?
We've definitely heard that from people, like,
yeah,
that there's just kind of a tiredness and kind of a lethargy.
And it's a way to like honestly just like stop ruminating and like thinking about like building these scenarios in your head. At least if you're sleeping, it's like nothing can happen, right?
And how is it impacting you as an artist?
It's hard on the road, I will say, because it's funny. You never have really a lot of time by yourself, but yet you feel alone in a lot of space. It's just away from family, away from truly like your partner or anyone like that. But and then just you have a lot of time to think, right? You have a lot of time in your own head, and those are long drives that you drive every day, right? And you try to I always try to be as extroverted as well, because once again, I've mentioned before that occupying kind of as much time, and that goes with like mental space as well, right? If you occupy it with things that are in front of you and present, I find it helps a lot better than to get rid of the rumination or negative thoughts or anything like that, right? Just kind of focus in on what's exactly in front of you right at that moment.
You say you're trying to be extroverted as possible. Are you an extrovert, or are you an introvert who's making yourself be an extrovert?
It's funny. I'm an extrovert. I was an extrovert my entire life, but I find as I get older, I've become more and more of an introvert. Right. And I find I've, I spend a lot more of my time at home, and I enjoy that a lot more than being around people. I find that too much sound and too many things happening at once kind of overstimulates you a little bit. And I kind of try to exit myself from those situations when I don't have to be there.
Yeah, no, I see that. I'm actually an introvert myself, even though I do this. My wife's an extrovert. It takes a lot of energy out of me sometimes when I'm in those kind of environments where there's a lot happening, especially if I feel like I'm kind of having to put on a bit of a show. It's what I love. I love being with people. I love having great conversations. I love having authentic conversations, but in situations where I feel like it's, the small talk and the, I have to say this and that. And I sometimes come home from those pretty drained. It's
exactly. I authentic conversation I find is very important to keep yourself stimulated in general.
So when you said that there were mental health challenges and you navigated them as a touring artist, I was trying to figure out, does that mean that it was hard as a touring artist to experience that? Or are you saying that because I was a touring artist, that helped me navigate it? Or is it both?
It's a little half and half, I guess, right? I've said before that music is, very emotional. It brings out a lot of feelings, right? So it's like, if you're feeling down already, it comes out in the music. You can't really hide it away, because someone would be like, well, why are you playing? Like, what's going on? You're having a bad night. I can hear you. Right. So that's, it truly, it's hard to hide from it in those situations, which is interesting.
Some of the things you mentioned make me think that you've had an opportunity for a bit more introspection and self-awareness. Is that something that you've been working on?
It's something I've always tried. I guess most of my life, I've always been very self-aware. There's vices and things that I've definitely been self-aware about that I have, I could probably change. So, I am a smoker, and that's something I know is a horrible thing for me. I guess that's a physical vice that I definitely am self-aware of.
What I was thinking more so was, you said at a certain point you had an event and then you were in the hospital, and presumably, you learned a little bit more about your condition, and maybe you were using pharmaceuticals, which I personally think do help in the right circumstances too. But what I'm wondering is, in that context, did you also learn ways to kind of introspect and think about, okay, what's happening? Because you mentioned too that now that you're a bit older, you find that it's good for you, your experiences, it's good for you to be home by yourself sometimes. It kind of settles you down. And are those kind of things you learn more about as you start thinking more about what you're going through?
Right. And it's, it's funny. I would say some of those things would be like coping mechanisms or something.
Exactly.
Ways to figure it out. I am still learning a lot of it. And I had a hard time with like the structured coping mechanisms that a lot of places kind of tell you. So I kind of just learned my own. Like I said, like being out in nature is a huge thing. Just being completely present is one way to turn your brain off. And it's occupying your time as much as possible. I found if you're doing it with structure and, with intention and like it's productive, that is the best thing you can possibly do for your mental health. If if you're constantly growing and you're seeing growth and doing it well, occupying as much time as possible, so you don't have free time to think about, the negativity and the anxiety. And
it's interesting because I'm kind of coming to that, what I call it an activity-based approach to wellness. I've been kind of coming to that in the last year or so in my thinking. I was coming at it more from the direction of ethics. So I'll try and give you the short version. ethics for a lot of people is about judgment. You know, what's the right thing to do in a right situation? And there's rules that you apply or theories that you apply. But somebody had reminded me a while back about a different approach to ethics, where you're trying to become an excellent person, not through judgy rules, but by making yourself a good person, well-rounded, doing all these different activities. And so as a result of that, I'm thinking a lot more of activity-based, which goes well with my theory about these 8 areas of wellness, because they're all focused on doing activities to foster wellness in each of these areas. So I think it's really interesting to hear from you that you're trying to keep busy, you're trying to do things. And I'm going to guess that, like, if we don't have to go through the exercise, but that little wheel beside me with these 8 areas of wellness, I'm going to guess a lot of the things you're enjoying to doing are kind of connect to one of those, like environmental, you like being in the forest, maybe you're artistic, playing a guitar, social, you know? So yeah, no, I'm totally buying into that. And I think it's really fascinating that you're saying that you're approaching your mental health issues from an activity-based approach.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Now that you're kind of aware of this stuff and you are touring, how do you kind of navigate it? Like, if you're having an off day, what might you do? If you're having a good day, what might you do?
Like I said, try to get out and find, like, especially if you're in a new city you've never been before, like, just constantly look up things to do. I mean, there's always a band playing somewhere. There's always some kind of museum or art space or any kind of public area that's, if it's a harbor town. I mean, there's so much good food on the East Coast and on the West Coast. Actually, yeah, just all over the place. You just got to hunt it down, right? So just, occupy yourself with an adventure.
I really like that. And I've often said that, to me, one of my favorite traits in myself that I've recognized over time is curiosity. And the fact that I'm curious has resulted in me doing so many things that are so much fun. And it sounds like that kind of works for you too. You're in a town and you're just curious about it and you go out and explore.
Totally. Yeah. It's, I don't know. It makes the world a little more interesting.
Okay. Well, we're actually getting toward the end. And from the last time, there's a question we ask every guest. As we do explore these different areas of wellness, we also recognize that each of us has these different areas, but we don't have time to get them all going at any given time. So we do a mini wellness check-in. So today, JD, are you currently neglecting an area of wellness in your life? And if so, can you think of even one thing that you could do to foster wellness in that area?
I mean, environmental. I mean, getting out in nature. I know wintertime kind of coops us up a lot more.
Oh, it sure does.
And it gets chilly out. So I haven't got out in nature as much as I'd like to, but there's going to be some planned trips for the springtime, at least, to kind of really reconnect with it, right?
Yeah. And just to share an experience from me, I started walking to work about a year ago, and it's about a 4.5 kilometer walk. And it's not really in the forest, although I do go through a park at one point. And even though that's not nature, I still find it's really cool though, because I start my day by getting out, and today it's cold and it's got fresh air and the sky is blue, or maybe it's gray. And I don't know, I still feel like I connect a little bit to nature. So, I really can't wait though till it's spring again and we can get back into the forest and smell the trees and all that stuff. So we got to get there. We'll get there, JD.
Awesome, brother.
Well, 2 amazing interviews. Thanks so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely, man. Cheers, brother.
We hope you're enjoying the show, and we hope you're finding ways to foster wellness in the categories that are important to you. If you like what you're hearing, head to our website, letsbewelltogether.com, and then to the archives page. It includes a quick summary of the different segments of all of our shows back to the start. Have a look and see if there's something interesting you want to listen to, and listen to one of our past episodes. There's a thought. Popped up while running. Regular listeners will know that I like the expression life in every breath, which I saw in the movie The Last Samurai. And I'm trying to figure out what it means and employ it in my life. It is kind of hard to figure out what it means fully. I think, though, that it's one of those things you just do and maybe try not to overthink it. I was remembering that expression on my run the other day, but it actually was because I was remembering back to something I'd said to Sheila, which I say often. And this is going to sound a little funny when I say it because it's possibly unrealistic, maybe not so much in this day and age. But there's lots of times when I'm sitting in my house that I really love, and frankly, never expected to have a house in the place that it's in with a nice view of a park and art and some other stuff that I really love. When I was younger, I never really imagined that far down the road, and I didn't imagine having the opportunity to have something nice like this. And I thought to myself, at any point I might lose my job. And then how long can I hang on if I don't find another job? And the old me used to start to worry and kind of spin around and start fretting about a future that probably will never happen. I probably won't lose my job. And if I do, I'll probably get another job. But I would start to fret, oh no, this could happen and then that could happen. And then this consequence and that. Next thing you know, I lose my house. And oh no, I don't want to go without my house. And here I am focused almost always on the future, on something that probably won't occur. Probably after I heard the expression life in every breath and kind of as part of this whole approach to wellness, well-being, I would sometimes say to Sheila, you know what? I don't know what's going to happen in the future, but I sure am enjoying this today. Maybe we're sitting in the backyard. Maybe it's that time of year where the blossoms are out. The weather's perfect. The coffee tastes perfect. We're both having a great day. And I think to myself, I don't know what's going to happen in the future, but I know I can enjoy this now. I know I can make the most of it every day that I'm here. And ever since I started doing that, I don't really worry about down the road anymore. You know what? Who knows how long I can ride this wave? But I'm sure I'll make things work afterwards if I stop riding the wave. But I sure am going to enjoy it as much as possible while I'm on this wave. And it was the same when I was out running. I don't know what things are going to be like in the future. I don't know what tomorrow will bring, but I feel fantastic right now. It's just a great day to be out on a run, and I'm going to make the most of it. Maybe that's part of life in every breath. Please remember that we're not providing advice. We hope to inspire you to work towards balance, and we urge you to consult with qualified people if you need advice. The people on the show are speaking in their personal capacities. Their views expressed are their own, and don't represent the views or opinions of their outside contacts, their employers, or anyone else. We try to get things right, but we can't guarantee everything we say is correct, or that the things we talk about will work for you. Let's be well together, and let's be sure to do that in a safe way.
And it's sign-off time. It's Sheila here with John.
Me again.
I had a very social week this week.
Nice.
Yeah, we went up to Collingwood, and I went up with my brother and his wife. So we visited with them, and then Elise and Michael were up, and then our son Alex and his girlfriend came up. And we actually went to a new little town. So we've been discovering some things up in Collingwood. And we went to Creemore, which is this little town. And it was so adorable. It had some great shops and some nice coffee bakeries. And that was just a great find. Had a great time. And what about your week, John?
And Creemore had an art gallery, which is really cool. They were showing two artists, one of which, and we have one of his paintings.
Yes, that was so interesting.
A whole bunch of little different things for me. First of all, last week, I had the end of my term as the president of our local law association.
Hey.
So after 2 years, I was really enjoyable. But now I'm hopefully going to have a little more time to do a few other things. And then we're going to go up to Collingwood from Kitchener. I was going to work on the Friday from there, but we got notice that our electricity would be off for the whole morning.
Mm-hmm.
And so I thought, you know what? I'll take a day off.
Mm-hmm.
So right after finishing my term, I got a day off. We had a blast. That was fun. And today, just a quick thing from today, which was fun. I usually take the bus home from work ever since I got rid of the car. And for whatever reason, I kind of like it when I have to run for the bus.
Yeah.
And so today I was walking up a street perpendicular to the street where the bus comes on, and it went by me.
Oh, no.
And so I'm like, shoot, I missed the bus. But maybe I'll get lucky. I know he's got to go another couple hundred yards and there's a stoplight. Maybe he'll get a red light. So I booted it.
Started running.
And I really had no chance. But enough people were getting on the bus that I caught it. So I don't know why, but I really like it when I have to run for the bus and I catch the bus and then you get on, you're catching your breath, but you're like, I did it.
Did it. It brings you back to your childhood running after the bus.
So there you go. That was my week.
Excellent. That is it for today's show. Please try and make wellness a priority.
You deserve it.
If you feel the need to talk to someone or ask for help, please do that.
Accept yourself for the person you are.
So long.
Adieu.
Auf Wiedersehen.
Goodbye.